You're listening to Radio NYC.
Hello, this is Commissioner Jimenez from the Mayor's Office to Combat Domestic Violence. People with disabilities are more likely to experience violence at the hands of an intimate partner. New Yorkers with disabilities should not feel alone. Support is available. In New York City, all victims of domestic violence, regardless of their language, immigration status, or disabilities, are offered services to help them regain control over their lives. If you or someone you know is being abused, please call 311 for help.
Hi, this is Dr. Tom Farley, New York City's Health Commissioner. One thing that all New Yorkers can do for their health is to know their HIV status. If you've had sex even once, you should get tested for HIV. If you're HIV positive, you can get medical care to help you feel better and live longer. If you're HIV negative, you can stay that way. Your regular healthcare provider can give you an HIV test. Free HIV tests are also available at health department clinics in all 5 boroughs. For clinic locations and hours, call 311 or visit nyc.gov.
Hi, I'm Adrienne Bailon. Having an official ID is one of the keys to success. Want to open a bank account, apply for a job, register for college soon? You'll need an official ID to do any of these things. Don't drive? Don't worry. You can get a non-driver state ID, and it only costs about $10. But in order to get an ID, there are a few things you'll need, and we're here to help. Go to nyc.gov and click on or search ID to get started.
This is Mayor Mike Bloomberg. Remember to dial 311 for all New York City government services and information.
Hola, me llamo Ana y trabajo en el Departamento de Asuntos al Consumidor. A veces puede ser abrumador para administrar su dinero, pero los centros de poder financieros de la ciudad pueden ayudarle a tomar control brindándole asesoramiento financiero profesional, gratuito e individual, ofrecido en toda la ciudad en diferentes idiomas. Nuestros consejeros pueden ayudar a reducir su deuda, preparar un presupuesto, abrir una cuenta bancaria segura y mucho más. Visite nyc.gov para encontrar el centro más cercano o llame al 311 para pedir una cita ya.
I'm Fatima Sharma, Commissioner of the New York City Mayor's Office of Immigrant Affairs. New York City is home to people from more than 190 countries. They're our neighbors and co-workers and an essential part of the fabric that makes us the greatest city in the world. My office helps immigrants make New York City their home. In the wake of Hurricane Sandy, we continue to work to make sure that immigrant communities affected by the storm have access to services that will help them recover and rebuild their lives. To learn more, visit nyc.gov or contact 311.
You're listening to Radio NYC.
Brooklyn Bridge Park keeps getting better. Hi, I'm Regina Meyer, president of Brooklyn Bridge Park, and we're thrilled to welcome visitors to the brand new Pier 5. Come play on our 5-acre sports field, barbecue on grills at the Picnic Peninsula, or take in the breathtaking views of Lower Manhattan from the promenade. There's more to come later this year when the Pier 2 sports courts make their debut. Check out brooklynbridgepark.org or call 311 for further information. Can't wait to see you at the park.
Hola, yo soy Adrienne Bailon. Tener una identificación oficial puede ser clave para tu éxito. ¿Quieres abrir una cuenta bancaria? ¿Solicitar un trabajo? Vas a necesitar una identificación oficial para hacer cualquiera de estas cosas. Puedes conseguir una identificación estatal para no conductores y solo cuesta $10. Pero para conseguir una identificación hay unas cosas que vas a necesitar. Visite nyc.gov y busque ID para empezar.
I'm Rob Walsh, Commissioner of Small Business Services.
And I'm Terrence Holliday, Commissioner of the Mayor's Office of Veterans Affairs. Our veterans served our country, and we are proud to serve them.
If you're a veteran or a veteran spouse looking for a job, stop by the Workforce One Veterans Center at 60 Madison Avenue in Manhattan, or at any of the 15 centers in all 5 boroughs. We work with businesses committed to hiring veterans, which means we have jobs for you. For more information, call 311 or visit nyc.gov.
This is Mayor Mike Bloomberg. Remember to dial 311 for all New York City government services and information.
Home is the one place we all expect to be safe, but each day over 1,000 New Yorkers report an incident of domestic violence. Hello, I'm Commissioner Yolanda Jimenez of the Mayor's Office to Combat Domestic Violence. Victims and their children don't have to suffer in silence. If you or someone you know is a victim of family violence, help is available 24 hours a day in all languages by calling 311 and asking for the New York City Domestic Violence Hotline. In emergencies, call 911.
Hello, I'm Taxi and Limousine Commissioner David Yaskey. Did you know that New York City taxicabs are required by law to take passengers anywhere in the 5 boroughs, or to Westchester or Nassau County, or to Newark Airport? In fact, a driver can't even ask where you're going before they accept the trip. So if a taxi driver refuses to serve you, call 311 or visit nyc.gov with the license or medallion number. With your help, the TLC is here to make sure you get where you need to go.
Hi, I'm Rob Walsh, Commissioner of the Department of Small Business Services. Figuring out what permits and licenses are needed in order to start and expand a business in New York City can be a challenging task. That's why we created New York City Business Express. It's a free one-stop website where business owners can access the information they need to open up shop. You can apply online for many permits, settle outstanding fines, and find incentives to lower the cost of doing business. Visit nyc.gov or call 311 and ask for NYC Business Express.
This is Mayor Mike Bloomberg. Remember to dial 311 for all New York City government services and information.
Soy Iris Jiménez Hernández, vicepresidenta de HHC, su sistema de hospitales públicos. Este Día de las Madres, dele a su mamá el mejor regalo, una cita para una mamografía. En HHC ofrecemos mamografías a muy bajo costo o sin costo durante todo el año. Visite nuestro sitio web o marque el 311 para el hospital público más cercano.
Hi, this is New York City Transportation Commissioner Jeanette Sadekhan. For most New Yorkers, our 6,000 miles of streets are our front yards, so we're doing everything we can to make them as safe, attractive, and as sustainable as they can be. By keeping our roads and bridges in good repair, building new public plazas and bike lanes, we're creating world-class streets for a world-class city. Please help us keep our streets safe and smooth by calling 311 to report potholes and other traffic concerns in your neighborhood.
This is Carter Strickland, Environmental Protection Commissioner for New York City. Every day, 9 million New Yorkers rely on DEP to deliver 1 billion gallons of the world's best drinking water to their homes and businesses. Renowned for its purity and taste, our tap water comes by gravity from the Catskills, 125 miles away, making it the right choice for your health and the environment. Look for our New York City water-on-the-go fountains throughout the 5 boroughs and learn more about New York City's water supply at nyc.gov. New York City Water, the right choice for the environment, your health, and your wallet. This is Carter Strickland, Environmental Protection Commissioner for New York City. Our restaurant scene is one of the best in the world, serving millions of New Yorkers and tourists every year. If you run a restaurant or food service business, remember to properly empty your grease traps. Pouring grease down the drain or into a city catch basin is illegal and can cause significant costly sewer backups. For a description of grease regulations and information regarding proper disposal methods, visit nyc.gov.
You're listening to Radio NYC.
What better way to get some outdoor exercise than rolling up your sleeves and helping care for Brooklyn's Prospect Park? Hi, I'm Emily Lloyd, president of the Prospect Park Alliance. Volunteering at Prospect Park offers many exciting ways to make a difference in the lives of all who benefit from the park. Individuals, families, students, and retirees can all have fun and learn something while helping the park. We provide the training and equipment. You decide how much time you can spare. For more information, call 311 or go online to nyc.gov, and I hope I'll see you soon in beautiful Prospect Park.
Hi, this is Sanitation Commissioner John Doherty. Please use street litter baskets for your candy wrappers, fast food containers, empty coffee cups, for everything except recyclables. Remember, never use litter baskets for garbage from your home or business. That's not what they are there for. Above all, don't litter. For more information on how you can help keep New York City clean, call 311. Let's work together to keep our streets clean.
Hi, this is Vincent Schiraldi, Commissioner at the New York City Department of Probation. Did you know that state law prohibits unfair discrimination against job applicants with a criminal conviction? Did you also know that the city has taken special steps to ensure that job applicants with a criminal conviction are treated fairly? It's true. For example, there are many job postings where city agencies are prohibited from asking about an applicant's criminal history before or during the first interview. So don't let your past define your future. Consider applying for a job with the city or one of our hundreds of partners. To find out more about what this change in policy means for you, visit nyc.gov.
Hi, I'm Rob Walsh, Commissioner of Small Business Services. If your small business was impacted by Hurricane Sandy, the city is ready to help. We have an emergency loan providing up to $25,000. We can also help businesses apply for federal assistance to up to $2 million. And there are other ways we can help. If your business has been displaced, we can set up free temporary space. And we could also assist in answering insurance questions or replace permits lost during the storm. For more information, go to nyc.gov, call 311, or visit a business solutions center located in any of the 5 boroughs.
This is Mayor Mike Bloomberg. Remember to dial 311 for all New York City government services and information.
Hi, I'm Seth Diamond, Commissioner of New York City's Department of Homeless Services. Homeless Services can connect you or someone you know who is at risk of homelessness to the DHS Home-Based Program, our one-stop for homelessness prevention, or one of our free law offices. We have over 30 service centers located in the 5 boroughs. To learn more about community-based prevention services that can help New Yorkers prevent eviction and avoid shelter, call 311 or visit nyc.gov.
Hi, I'm Deputy Mayor Carol Robles-Roman. New York City is the safest big city in the nation, and we're leading a fight against human trafficking, a terrible crime where people can be forced or tricked into working in harsh conditions, often for no pay. If you are a victim or know someone who is, call 911. For more information, call 311 or go to www.nyc.gov. Let's call an end to human trafficking.
This is Sanitation Commissioner John Doherty, reminding you to leash and pick up after your dog. Be considerate to your fellow New Yorkers when walking your dog in the street or in a park. Obey the Pooper Scooper law and avoid a $250 fine. If we all do our part, we can keep New York City clean. Remember, be a responsible pet owner and always pick up after your dog.
I'm Kate Levin, Commissioner of the Department of Cultural Affairs. New York City is the creative capital of the world. Throughout the 5 boroughs, residents and visitors benefit from an extraordinary cultural community that includes more than 700 theater and dance companies, 650 galleries and museums, 96 orchestras, 24 performing arts centers, 5 zoos, 4 botanic gardens, and 1 aquarium. So take in an exhibition, see a performance, or visit a historic site. There's something for everyone, and it's all just around the corner.
You're listening to Radio NYC.
Hello, this is Commissioner Jimenez from the Mayor's Office to Combat Domestic Violence. People with disabilities are more likely to experience violence at the hands of an intimate partner. New Yorkers with disabilities should not feel alone. Support is available. In New York City, all victims of domestic violence, regardless of their language, immigration status, or disabilities, are offered services to help them regain control over their lives. If you or someone you know is being abused, please call 311 for help.
Hi, this is Dr. Tom Farley, New York City's Health Commissioner. One thing that all New Yorkers can do for their health is to know their HIV status. If you've had sex even once, you should get tested for HIV. If you're HIV positive, you can get medical care to help you feel better and live longer. If you're HIV negative, you can stay that way. Your regular healthcare provider can give you an HIV test. Free HIV tests are also available at health department clinics in all 5 boroughs. For clinic locations and hours, call 311 or visit nyc.gov.
Hi, I'm Adrienne Bailon. Having an official ID is one of the keys to success. Want to open a bank account, apply for a job, register for college soon? You'll need an official ID to do any of these things. Don't drive? Don't worry. You can get a non-driver state ID, and it only costs about $10. But in order to get an ID, there are a few things you'll need, and we're here to help. Go to nyc.gov and click on or search ID to get started.
This is Mayor Mike Bloomberg. Remember to dial 311. Are we ready? Well, good morning, everyone. Nice weather outside, and another day in the city, but we're here to talk about something serious, and that is that on December 14th, we will mark a very somber anniversary. Across the nation, Americans will pause, I hope, to remember what happened at Sandy Hook Elementary School 1 year ago, when a deranged young man shot his way into the school and proceeded to gun down 26 innocent people, 6 adults and 26 and 7-year-old children. It's important that we remember all those that we lost and their families. The anniversary will obviously be a very painful time for them, and a painful time, I think, for all Americans. It's also important to remember that nothing has changed in Washington since Newtown, despite the fact that the vast majority of American people favor basic steps that would help keep guns out of the hands of the mentally ill, criminals, and other dangerous people. Now, during the past 12 months, many Americans have turned the anguish they felt after Sandy Hook into action designed to end the national epidemic of gun violence that in the past year has resulted in the murder of some 12,000 Americans in big cities, small towns, suburbs, and rural areas. And we've seen some results. In the past year, the national bipartisan organization that I co-chair, Mayors Against Illegal Guns, has worked with legislators and grassroots leaders across the country. We've helped them, for example, enact state laws that close background check loopholes and keep firearms from falling into the hands of those who should not have them. The states that have passed those laws include Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, and I'm happy to say New York State. The Obama administration has also taken actions that the Mayors Against Illegal Guns have urged. This year, the president, as you know, swore in the first permanent director that the Federal Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives has had in 7 years. He also directed the Centers for Disease Control to renew research on gun violence prevention, ending the long, shameful freeze on such research caused by pressure from the gun lobby and its Washington allies. Nevertheless, as we all know, much more needs to be done. At the top of the list is strengthening the National Instant Criminal Background Check System. It's set up to keep guns from being bought by criminals, the mentally ill, and those with histories of committing domestic violence and other potentially dangerous people. The background check system requires gun buyers making purchases from licensed firearm dealers to pass an instant screening test at the point of purchase. But the system is dangerously undermined by a private sale loophole, a loophole through which during 2012 alone, some 6.6 million gun sales were made, and a loophole that can be and is exploited by criminals every single day of the year. It's also a loophole that ever-expanding sales via Internet websites makes even more potentially dangerous to innocent people. And that reality is brought home by a report being released today by Mayors Against Illegal Guns. The report is entitled, "In the Business, Outside the Law." It describes how unlicensed sellers of firearms are flooding the Internet with weapons. The result? A massive online, largely unregulated, secondhand firearms market that threatens the safety of all of us. Case in point, and the focus of this report, armslist.com. It is a website where unlicensed private gun sellers meet and do business with potential purchasers. In September, Mayors Against Illegal Guns issued an early report on gun buyers using Arms List. It shows that Arms List alone may be responsible for sales of as many as 25,000 guns a year to people with criminal records. And we found that 1 of every 30 want to buy ads on the website was put up by someone with a criminal record. Today's equally disturbing report looks, instead of at gun buyers, this one's at gun sellers. Many websites offer guns for sale. Few match Arms List's very high sales volume. Based on our review of a 7.5-week period earlier this year, We estimate that the website annually hosts more than 750,000 listings of firearms for sale. If they were all merely gun owners making occasional sales from personal collections, that would be legal. But in many cases, that is just not the truth. In fact, during the period we monitored the website, some 29% of the guns advertised by unlicensed sellers on Arms List were posted by high-volume sellers. And by that we mean those sellers placed at least 5 gun ads, and some placed many more than that. Taken together, the high-volume sellers we monitored posted ads for more than 36,000 guns during the period of observation, that 7.5-week period. That is a rate of almost 244,000 guns a year. And because of the private sale loophole, these guns could change hands, no questions asked. With no federal requirement to conduct a background check of the buyers. And what's more, when our investigators contacted them, some 58% of such high-volume sellers gave additional indications that they were actually in the business of selling guns. Such indications as, for example, selling guns that were new or in their original packaging, selling guns at a profit, and buying and then reselling guns within short periods of time. These findings clearly tell us that law enforcement, legislators, and websites themselves all need to take steps to choke off this potentially deadly stream of unregulated firearm sales, and that's just what we're recommending today. For its part, the ATF should enunciate clearly defined standards about what constitutes engaging in the business of selling guns. Then they and the federal prosecutors should target those who break the law by failing to adhere to these standards. And Internet sales clearly merit special attention in this regard. Congress needs to require all those engaged in the business of selling guns, including the kind of high-volume private sellers we've described today, to comply with the federal background check law. There is simply no reason why this should be a burden on them or on purchasers, but it would save an awful lot of lives, and it could be you, your life, me, my life, or our children's lives. Congress should also pass a gun trafficking statute that would hold private sellers who knowingly transfer guns to prohibited persons accountable before the law. Finally, Arms List and other online marketplaces must do a better job of self-policing. As our report points out, a number of websites have already taken self-regulating steps. We commend them strongly for that. Like them, we recognize the Second Amendment right to bear arms. We also firmly believe that common-sense gun laws protect the American people. Finally, this is the last report that Mayors Against Illegal Guns is issuing during our tenure as mayor. Rest assured that our work to pass sensible gun laws that keep firearms out of the hands of criminals and end the epidemic of gun violence in our nation will go on. We will keep fighting. Maybe we'll keep fighting even harder. We'll have a little more time to focus on this. In something less than 7 years' time, Mayors Against Illegal Guns has grown from a founding core of 15 mayors, and former Mayor Tom Menino of Boston deserves an enormous amount of the credit, to now include more than 1,000 mayors representing tens of millions of people from coast to coast. Our actions and investigative reports like today's and like previous ones that have exposed the dangers of unregulated sales of guns online and at gun shows have materially changed the national conversation on gun safety. We've worked with the world's largest retailer and the nation's largest seller of firearms, Walmart, to develop policies to keep guns out of the wrong hands, and we've worked with Congress to stop concealed carry reciprocity legislation, which would have been devastating to our big cities. Our administration has also taken bold, innovative, and highly successful steps, as you know, to stop the flow of guns onto our streets, and they include pioneering undercover investigation in suits of out-of-state rogue gun dealers. Today, I do want to take a moment to thank the mayors who are part of Mayors Against Illegal Guns, our grassroots supporters, and everyone who has done this vital work. In particular, I want to thank the family members of men and women who've lost their lives to gun violence for standing up with us, to tell their stories and to describe their pain. It takes a great deal of courage to do that, and it means more to us than I can ever say. But my children and your children are safer because of them. So has the work of the man who has spearheaded this effort, our administration's chief policy advisor, John Feinblatt. John?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. This latest report shows us yet again that the internet is a vast and it's a growing marketplace for illegal guns. And tragically, we know that it's the American people who are paying the price for that. We've been investigating illegal sales on the internet for over 2 years. And in that time, more than 24,000 Americans have been murdered with guns. That's 33 Americans every day shot and killed on our street corners, throughout our communities, and across the United States. And all too often, the gun was purchased by a dangerous person who armed themselves with the click of a button. You know, this isn't theoretical. There's a face to these reports. In Edna Valley, Minnesota, Rochelle Inselman was blocked from buying a gun due to a history of violating restraining orders. But in 2012, she went online, bought a 9mm through a private sale, and then killed her ex-boyfriend. And in Brookfield, Wisconsin, Zena Daniels tried to protect herself from her abusive husband, who had by getting a restraining order from a court. But through a want-to-buy ad on Arms List, her ex-husband bought a Glock, and the next day he killed Zena and 2 of her co-workers, and then killed himself. Unfortunately, these are just a few of the tragedies that began with an online sale and ended with a body count. But we also know there are 2 simple solutions to this problem. First is to enforce the current laws to ensure high-volume sellers are licensed. And the second, of course, is for Congress to pass comprehensive background check laws. And we know that background checks laws work. In the states that require them, 38% fewer law enforcement officers are shot and killed in the line of duty, 49% fewer suicides occur with guns, and 38% fewer women are shot to death by their intimate partners. Today's report is the latest in an investigation that Mayors Against Illegal Guns has taken to look at the vast and growing online marketplace for guns. And in fact, if you just look at this single website alone, Arms List, it is growing exponentially. In fact, in December of 2011, there were 12,000 ads for guns. 2 years later, it had increased to 66,000 ads for guns, a 5-fold increase in just 2 years. In 2011, we showed that without background check requirements, too many sellers will sell guns to just about anyone. And this occurred even when our investigators confessed that they probably couldn't pass a background check. In September of this year, we showed that felons know this. They know it's an unregulated marketplace, and so they turn to the internet to buy guns. And looking at just a small slice of the market, the so-called want-to-buy ads, we found that 1 in 30 would-be buyers on Arms List had criminal records that should have prohibited them from buying a gun in the first place. And this latest study shows us how the picture is complete. Sellers illegally engaged in the business escaped detection even while breaking the law. And in fact, nearly 1/3 of all guns that were being sold on this website were being sold by high-volume sellers. Make no mistake, these people are in the business of selling guns. Under federal law, they should be conducting background checks. They posted new guns for sale every 10 or 11 days. They were on pace to sell more than 34 guns a year. Putting it all together, they would have sold 243,000 guns combined. In just one case, a seller from Indianapolis created 127 unique postings during this short 54-day period. Another seller put up more than 50 listings in this less than 2-month period. They spoke openly when we called them about making a profit. They spoke openly about the fact that they were selling new guns in the boxes. They spoke openly about the fact that they would sell and buy guns on a daily basis. All signs that prosecutors use to show that they are engaged in the business of selling guns. One seller, for instance, in Atlanta explained that he'd weighed the costs and benefits of getting a federal firearms license and decided that under current law, given how vague it was, it would make more sense to just sell them at a brisk rate without a license. Another seller from Virginia was quite open about the fact that he used arms list to allow his gun sales to be hidden from outside investigators. Now, it's important to note, nobody's suggesting that these people should stop selling guns. What we are saying is that they need to know who they're selling them to. And that's why sellers engaged in the business need to have licenses and to conduct background checks on their sales. We've shown a spotlight on this issue because the safety of our communities and the safety of our loved ones are at stake. But shining a light is not enough. We know what we need to do. Arms lists and other sites can improve their practices right now, today, this afternoon. They can monitor high-volume sellers and issue warnings when needed. They can require buyers and sellers to register their identities using a credit card, and they can voluntarily require background checks before any sales, as some sites have done. These are all steps we've seen some take. It's time for all of them to take. But ultimately, our laws have to change. And until Congress acts, we'll continue to watch the internet funnel tens of thousands of guns into the hands of dangerous individuals, and we'll continue to watch the horror as our fellow citizens are gunned down. Thank you.
John, thank you. Before taking questions, let me just summarize for our Spanish-speaking New Yorkers. Hoy el grupo de alcaldes contra las armas ilegales ha publicado un nuevo informe sobre la cantidad de vendedores de armas en línea que evaden los requisitos para comprar armas. Estos requisitos fueron diseñados para evitar que las armas lleguen a manos peligrosas. Lo siento. And with that, we'll be happy to take some questions. Yes, Miss.
Dana Rubinstein, Capital New York. Have you been able to make any contact with the arms list?
So we have reached out to Arms List, and I don't have good news there. Where I do have good news is that you've seen now other sites take some very, very positive steps to make sure that criminals don't have easy access to guns and that sellers don't evade laws. So some are requiring credit cards now and some form of identification, which really suppresses the appetite of people to do things illegally. Some have even organized voluntary groups of dealers. I think something like 17,000 dealers have cooperated in this so that online sales can then be have background checks. We've seen others do some monitoring. This is not hard to do. We were able to do it so that you can identify who the high-volume sellers are. Others are posting warnings on their site. So while Arms List is continuing to disobey the law and be flagrant about it, others are coming into line and taking some of the suggestions that we put forth.
How would you characterize Arms List's reaction to your outreach?
I think they're going to continue. They're continuing so far to do business as usual.
Yes, sir.
Sure. Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. Have you spoken with the incoming mayor about this issue, whether he would continue the fight?
No, but Bill has been very much in favor of sensible gun regulations. I would hope that he would join Mayor's coalition, but he's got other things on his mind at the moment. But we will certainly talk to him, and I would expect him to be there. He, if you go back and look at his record, is totally in sync. Yes, Miss?
Marla Diamond with WCBS. So you're saying that these sites are totally unregulated? And New York has some pretty strict gun laws. So if you're a New York purchaser, are you able to get these guns with ease?
So what we're saying is that because it's such a hidden marketplace, it is a marketplace that's just fertile for illegal activity. If you're in a state that requires a background check, what we have found, and one of the findings of this study, is that the overwhelming number of sellers, if you're in a state that requires a background check, actually require the background checked online. But that's, remember, still a minority of the states. What all of our studies of the Internet have shown is that because it's in the shadows, far more in the shadows than even a gun show, because in a gun show it's visible, people have their wares out on a table, that it seems to clearly be a place where criminals flock, where sellers who want to evade the law flock, and where there's a marketplace of illegal activity, and that felons know it.
Could you answer your question in the context, if the site is in New York,
if the
site's elsewhere, and the customer's in New York?
If the site is in a state that requires background checks like New York, the sellers will, by and large, we find overwhelmingly ask for a background check. But those states are still a minority. We're making a lot of progress on the states. As you know, 4 or 5 states since Newtown and last year passed background checks. But in states that don't, people are in the business clearly, but not getting licensed and not asking the vital question.
But if the website is elsewhere and a New York buyer wants to buy, do they check? That's their question.
What we are finding is the law would require, if you are in a state that has a background check, that the seller must ask the question. But we know, and we know that that's happening. But in other states where that's not required, it is not happening, and therefore you have a marketplace where criminals are flocking both as sellers and buyers.
So a state that doesn't have it, like Texas, if a New York purchaser calls them, there's not going to be a background check.
It is very unlikely that there would be a background check.
That's the question that she asked. Yes, Miss.
Danielle Chalkin from Metro. Can you elaborate on the methodology of the investigation, like how you found out that the ad buyers had criminal records?
So in the last study, which we put out a couple of months ago, which is where we found out that the buyers had criminal records, what we did was we went on to Arms List, which has a section called Want to Buy. And so it's people who are saying that they want to buy a particular type of gun. We scraped all of that data over a period of time, and then we had private investigators actually using identifiers that we got from their ads, actually trace their criminal records using public records from across the country. This study used a similar technique, but was about sellers, where we, over a 54-day period, we scraped all the ads that were on Arms List, and then what we looked for was, did you have sellers selling multiple guns? And so we were able to determine that 29% of the sales that were occurring during this 54-day period were by people who were selling multiple guns, which clearly indicated that they were in the business and should have been requiring background checks. To further confirm that, so that we didn't just rely on the fact that they had multiple guns being sold all at once, we then took a subsample, made calls, asked questions to see if we could elicit details about their business. And in something like nearly 60% of the cases, people volunteered information that confirmed what the numbers were telling us. They talked about the fact that they had new-in-the-box guns. They talked about the fact that they were making profits on this. They talked about the volume of sales that they had, all indicia that courts and the ATF would use to determine that somebody's in the business. Federal law says that if you're in the business of selling guns, you have to do a background check. And the bottom line of this study was that 29% of the sales going on Arms List were being sold by people who were in the business but without a federal license, and therefore in violation of federal law, which is punishable by up to 5 years.
Other gun questions? Yes.
Hi, Zach Fink from New York One. You mentioned a lack of action in Washington, D.C. At this point, in terms of what can be done on a local level, do you feel anything more needs to be done, for example, on the state level to restrict?
Well, there has been more progress on the state levels in the last year or so than in the federal level. Although, in all fairness, the president has done some things, like a new head of the ATF. I talked about that. But in Congress, they've fundamentally, they've not passed any legislation. So if that's which is the way where the rubber meets the road in terms of have they done something or not done something. They've basically done nothing. Some senators and congressmen have stood up and said this is what's right and I'm going to vote for it. Some went the other direction, so they've talked about it, but there has been no legislation. On the other hand, there are a handful of states that have passed legislation here around the country that have improved the situation. I think it's fair to say in Congress we did stop this right to carry concealed weapons bill, so maybe that's progress. If you take a look, as John pointed out, in the states that have sensible gun laws, just sensible meaning you don't sell guns to criminals or people with psychiatric problems over the internet or at a gun show without a background check. The states have been able to really make enormous difference. Half the number of people killed, a third of the number of domestic violence murders, a third the number of police officers shot. So it may not be perfect, but it really does make a difference. Measurably, you can look at the 15 states, I think it is, that do this, half the suicide rate with guns. You look at the rest of the states, double that number. So, you know, there is progress being made. It's being made at the local level. Will we get a sensible gun law bill out of Congress? Eventually. I don't know what kind of tragedy it's going to take, but you can rest assured, I, for one, and I think an awful lot of people in this country are going to keep the pressure on and make sure that Congress understands that we don't want to run the risk of having some crazy person or some criminal get a gun and shoot our children. This is self-protection. This is not a theoretical thing. This is not something that's nice. 12,000 people a year get killed in America with illegal handguns, and 19,000 people commit suicide with handguns, mostly young people. And just got to stop this carnage. We're the only major country in the world that has this problem. And when you do the surveys, 80, 90% of the people, even NRA members, say, of course we shouldn't sell guns to criminals. Of course we shouldn't sell guns to crazy people. Okay, let's have the tests and do it. And what history shows is that if you have those laws, the gun dealers follow them. 99% or something like that of all gun dealers actually obey the law. So when you catch a gun, it's not generally, it hasn't come from a gun dealer. It's come from the internet or gun shows, which weren't really thought about when the law was passed, which is an old law. So, yes, Miss. Oh, sorry. Let me give it first, Jesse.
Can you talk about what your role will be with mayors?
I'm going to make sure, you can rest assured, I will devote extensive resources of my own and work very hard. And we're working out, this organization's not going away. Miss?
There was a report by WNYC this morning about how city pension funds are...
What's that got to do with guns? What's that got to do with guns?
Well, it's about guns, actually.
Okay.
They're invested in a company called, a private equity company called Cerberus, which owns...
Which is, I think I read Cerberus is trying to sell off their investment.
Well, they've been saying they're trying to sell off their investment for about a year, and they elected Blasio as public advocate was trying to get them to do that earlier in the
What's
year.
the question? I'm sorry.
I mean, what are your feelings about
Personally, I would not invest in companies that manufacture guns or tobacco products, for example. Having said that, if you buy the S&P, there are companies in that, so you can't be 100% pure no matter what you do. But I think that it sends a good message not to do that. Generally speaking, however, you have to run monies for the public pension funds to maximize returns, but there are some things which you can do. You can't go and if you cut out every single thing that somebody's opposed to, you'd never invest in anything. So there's a balance, I think.
One more on guns.
Anything on guns? Thank you very much.